Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you back for this fourth season of Masterclasses on leadership with not just head, lots of heart, and also hands. Thank you, Claude, for your warm welcome, and thank you for the INSEAD Alumni Association that is hosting us over the years and for this next season. So Marie Humblot-Ferrero. I'm managing director at BCG. And since BCG, I've worked since 2007. I've been working quite a lot on transformation, mainly in the pharma industry, and focusing on how to engage more with the people on those transformations that are continuing, accelerating over the course of the years, and where COVID has also brought new concerns, new demands, and new expectations from both employees and leaders. I would like to welcome the panelists of today's session. First, a warm welcome to Nicolas Fabrykant. Nicolas is a Human Relations Director for the Consumer Product Division of L'Oréal. Democratizing the best of beauty is the mission of the division, and for us, beauty must respect the planet. Since 2016 at L'Oréal, Nicolas has developed a people-centric approach by placing people at the heart of its division operation strategy. The powerful bonds of trust with leaders and their teams allow it to support them in permanent change. Convinced by care management and as a new foundation for team cohesion and sustainable outperformance. 20 years of HR experience in multi-sector contexts, insurance, pharmaceutical industry, banking, private equity, and cosmetics. His recovery revolves around the water in the weekend, rowing club, or diving trip across the globe. Thank you for being here with us, Nicolas.
Thank you. Just for the operation of the division. Thank you.
I'm also very happy to welcome today Pierre-Etienne Bidon. Pierre-Etienne is a co-founder and president of Moka.care, a company that is reinventing the way to prevent psychological risks in business. He dedicates all his professional energy to transforming the way mental health is viewed in business, so that the mind becomes a revealer of potential rather than a weakness. Before that, Pierre-Etienne was a strategy consultant. He supported dozens of organizations in the health and insurance fields to resolve issues that were hindering the development of their activity. In his personal life, Pierre-Etienne is the father of 2 children and a big fan of triathlon, which he practices 5 training sessions per week. Thank you for being with us.
Pleasure.
And last but not least, let me introduce my partner in crime, Fanny Potier. Fanny is an INSEAD MBA 2001, the partner and director at BCG. She has long experience in people and leadership strategy. She is the co-author with myself of Generative Leadership Approach at BCG. And she's convinced that leaders, and more than ever, are the unlock for change. We need to have the world a better place than we found it. That's the generative leader motto. And we're here to discuss more about that. So really today is about focusing on how to lead with your heart and care. We have 2 panelists that will be discussing their commitment to employee assistance and counseling programs aimed at addressing burnout, isolation, and loneliness. Those are topics that have somehow developed or increased in the past years. Close than 1 billion people live with a mental health condition, according to WHO. Chances are that one of your colleagues, one of your relatives is actually suffering from those type of illnesses. During the pandemic, lots of things have crystallized, and specifically the approach to care. We've discussed already in those masterclasses the need for more consideration, appreciation, and care from the employee. And companies have strengthened their commitments. They have developed employee assistance programs. Many leaders talk also publicly about their own illness and their own issue, and how they engage with their employees to take care of them. So first, I will start with Fanny with my first question. Why must leaders focus on care, and how does that play in employees' mental health and well-being, Fanny?
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you, Marie. So let me open up more from care to the heart. Well, my first answer is because your employees demand it. As you recall, the many times we have called on the research we did around generative leadership. We did a survey with 9,000 people across the world, and we asked them what they were expecting their leaders to demonstrate. And the top 4 qualities characterizing a good leader from their perspective come from the heart. I mean, you mentioned some of them, Marie, already, but the first one, by far, is recognition. What does it mean, recognition? It's showing consideration and respect for the individuals and their work contribution. The second part is people coaching and development. So what does it mean? It means creating opportunities to develop the skills of your team members, of your colleagues, and to do that at systemic level. Empathetic listening, actively listening with empathy and understanding people without judging them. That means working on our bias and being aware of them and how they play in how we interact with others. And finally, care, which is truly being interested in how people feel, how people are in the workplace, but also, as Marie mentioned, as leaders of your organization, ensuring that some well-being programs are in place that will support your employees, and actually beyond your employees, their extended families as well, which is a trend that has been observed more and more during COVID in particular, and that's probably something a bit new for some of your organization to extend from the employees themselves to their extended network around them. Why do you need to care beyond the fact that your employees and yourself actually demand it? We do believe that improving care adds value in 4 different ways. One is that caring for your people improves their retention. We're in a talent-driven market, so being mindful of those particular KPIs that caring improves is actually not a luxury anymore, and I'm sure many of you are convinced about that. So retention, dedication, so it works directly and it correlates directly with employee engagement. It's therefore because you have more dedication and engagement from your people, we know that it drives productivity, and it also drives innovation because you put your people in a place where they are mentally free from some mental charge that would otherwise play against their productivity and their ability to bring new ideas to the organization. Finally, the last point I wanted to cover very briefly on care is that most of you are in a state of constant transformation. So I won't comment on do we talk about change, transformation, or whatever, but the reality is that any organization today is always undergoing some degree of change everywhere in the organization. And let me comment on typical issues from lack of care in transformation. Well, going back to what I was saying, lack of care in transformation. And I mentioned that because in the survey we did, if you remember, for those of you who have been following those masterclass for a while, we also observed leaders in action as part of generative leadership research that we did at the beginning. And if you remember the head, the heart, and the hand, which is at the core of generative leadership, the heart typically gets deprioritized in action. And action for leadership usually means transformation context. There's a lot of leadership intensity in transformation. And typically, you go for the head, go for the heart, for the hands, and less for the heart. And if you don't do that, the issues that I was, or the KPIs that I was referring to just 2 minutes ago, I mean, they're going to downgrade significantly and decrease significantly. So what does that mean? So lack of dedication, increased conflicts, mental distress, because, climate of change creates additional anxiety, absenteeism. I mean, probably P, you will comment on that. Perceived loss of control. I mean, a change moment for employees is very distressing. And if you don't care for them, all of that will happen and materialize and will slow down any transformation that you're leading in the organization.
Thank you, Fanny. Pierre-Etienne, the second question is for you actually on, you developed Moka.care. It is dedicated to supporting employees, supporting employers support their employees. What manifestation of mental health issues do you observe?
Thanks a lot, Marie. First, I just want to say a huge thank you to Marie, to Fanny for the invitation, and also to Nicolas, because we have been partnering together for a long time with Moka now, almost 3 years. I'm super proud and happy to be here among you today. I'm a former BCG, and I made the choice to create Moka, but I will go into more reasons, in the rest of the conversation. Yes, Moka is like, our mission is just to create healthy organization, which means to understand how to take care of the mental health of the employees and how to create organizations that by design foster a mentally healthy workplace. So what we can observe for the past 10 years, I would say, of course, there is a before and after COVID. I will first start before COVID. What we observe is that there was some signal about poor mental health overall. The first one, and maybe the first symptom, and what we observe is everything that concerns connectivity. There was a huge increase of all of our connectivities, both on smartphone, on work communications like Teams and Slack, for those of you who are using it. And the way we think about it is, if you think about your grandmother, there was no connection at all, like no single point of external communication rather than school, family, and maybe friends. Now you are exposed to between 200 and 500, depending on where you're living in France or in the rest of the world, of connection points each day. You unlock your phone 221 times per day in average. So this has been a huge change because there is an impact on your brain and also on your hormones, which finally has an impact on your mental health. So this is the first signal and the first symptom that we observe. Second symptom, which is more after COVID, it's the way, it's the way you interact with people, both on a professional and personal level. We're making conference video now. It's something that is very useful for all of us. But before it was not the case. When we were making conference, it was in the real life. And so, this has dramatically changed the way you interact with managers, or the way you as a manager interacts with your team. For instance, written communication. We're speaking a lot about written communication and the way it could have, I would say, a new manifestation on the mental health of people. For instance, in my verbal communication now, you're hearing the word that I'm saying, but you're also seeing my hands moving in the space. And if I were in physics, you were also seeing my body. So this is all the meta communication. You're also seeing the tone of my voice. Maybe you're interpreting as, okay, he could be happy. He could be, on the contrary, sad. You don't know, but you have a lot of interpretation about this. that you don't have on the written communication. And so the second manifestation that we observe is we have more and more interpretation of what people say more than the thing they say itself. So this is the second manifestation you should work on, and we will go into more detail in the rest of the conference. The third thing that we observe a lot is that the role of managers in the mental health has dramatically changed. This has been another change on mental health. You can do a small conference and have your daughter, which is crying just next to the door. So I was speaking about the third one, which is the role of the manager that has been evolving, particularly in the way to care for people. I will give you a few figures. Maybe the most important one is I would say the dramatically importance of the increase of absenteeism. Last year, there was in France, sorry, I don't have the stat overall, but in France, 42% of absenteeism, which means as an employee, I have at least taken 1 day of sick leave during the year. It's 35% more than the previous year in 2021. So this also has been a huge manifestation in the way companies should think about mental health.
Thank you, Pierre-Etienne. Thank you for this background. And indeed, lots of things have changed in our lives. And I guess that all of us can relate to the topics you mentioned. Nicolas, can you tell us a little more about what you do at the consumer product division of L'Oréal for operations and how you take care of your people?
I am particularly proud of the group of L'Oréal because the group has always taken care of its employee. The protection and the well-being of our employee and their family have always been very, very important. Maybe to answer to your question, I would like to answer in three parts, 3 times. Maybe first, 10 years ago, in 2013, we were one of the first companies to introduce a large-scale social innovation program, Sharing Care. I don't know if all of you know this program. This program has enabled social advantages with a target of a common universal base and high standard of social protection and well-being for all countries. Many countries and many actions were based on maternity, paternity, co-parental leave, which are now above local market practices. From reaction solution, the program has developed more preventive action such as cancer protection and so on. We did a lot, but I think we could do even more. That's why in 2021, following the perpetuation of the post-COVID hybrid mode, in February 21, we decided to build a partnership with Moka.care was a pilot in a test and learn approach for our 250 people in the staff of operation of my division. Our why, our sense of purpose, was to be recognized as an inclusive and well-being place to work. But it is a pillar of our strategy. What we put in place. The first year, we gave all employees access to Moka.care application on which they can find content on all mental issues, whether work-related or not, motivation, mental workload, imposter syndrome, and so on. Those who wish to do so can also take part in individual personal session with a therapist or a coach or both. We buy a total number of sessions per year, and it is managed by Moka.care directly with employees who feel they need. For us, it was very important that Moka.care guarantee the high standard of selection of the practitioner and include in their offer a first call to help the employee to find the right practitioner. For the second year, we amplify the partnership, and in addition to this application access and the individual session, we develop more preventive action to raise team awareness. We talk on interpersonal communication, workshop on emotional intelligence, or even sophrology session. We deployed over 30 workshops and sessions for all our teams. Now our team are very active on the app, consulting information or registering for session. We bring together over 100 people at every talk we organized. And 60 of our employees are accompanied by practice owner. And of course, we don't know who is consulting what and who meet practice owner. We were a pilot to launch Moka.care in coordination with the group HR team. This year, this is extended to 7 other entities in France. Maybe 3 in the meantime. This year, the group deployed Simplicity 2 transformation program. The goal is to reduce unproductive workload and better manage meetings that represent the major area of improvement and progress expected by our employee through the group, and it is based on our barometer pulse results. As we know, we work in close interaction each other, and it is often, a management with double matrix, and this subject could only be addressed globally. That's why we have a worldwide program. We implemented across the group and division a workshop based on 4 dimensions with concrete solutions. First, leveraging psychological safety to reduce excessive workload. 2, fewer meetings, better meetings, new charter on meeting and interaction. 3, make time for what matters the most with warm-up Monday morning and individual focus time. 4, recharge, warm-up, perform with daily tactics to stay energized or recharge along the day with golden rules of disconnection. What we expect is to develop better awareness of what each of us can do as her first step. We know the theory of the small steps. This is perfectly in line and aligned with the action launched with Moka.care to ensure that our leaders and employees have a personal ecology so that we can all give the best of ourselves and preserve our mental and emotional well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolas. This is very interesting to learn more about the program that L'Oréal is putting in place to take care and supporting their employees. Fanny, I wanted to switch with you to the individual leader, and if you can tell us more about what does it mean to care? How do you become a more caring leader as an individual?
Yeah, thank you, Marie. Thank you, Nicolas. I think it was it tops some best practice in terms of what I see organization doing in terms of how you support your people. I think the care is a difficult and sensitive topic because it's usually at individual level. It goes very, very quickly into personal realm. Because you can be, caring by nature because your education, your upbringing led you to do that. And then in some other circumstances, that's not necessarily what was emphasized when you grew up. So we have those extreme in the continuum of leadership, and that's just the reality. And again, if you think about your colleagues and if you're a bit self-aware of where you stand in terms of care, maybe you will appreciate that kind of continuum in terms of how spontaneously we are, we are motivated to care in a professional setting. My observation and the observation we did when we did the generative leadership, and since then, after working with so many leaders on that and that particular dimension, I would try to summarize that in 3 key points, 2 which are probably better dealt at the individual level, and then a third one which Nicolas shared, which is done at the collective level. The first one is it's about recognizing individuals and other people. And what does that mean? It means that I see you, I really see you, and I respect you for who you are. This is what we mean by recognition. The other piece is connecting with empathy. And connecting with empathy is listening without bias, creating psychological safety, being present when engaging with people, and also having conversation, but without forcing the agenda. It goes back to the bias or to the ability to be present without your brain working and creating meaning from what someone else is saying, okay, in front of you. Like now, if you listen to me with empathy, you're not computing what I'm saying, you're just listening to me. The third element, which is important, and I think, Nicolas, you shared about that, and I think, Pierre-Etienne, that's what you do, and that's what you believe is worth doing through your company, is increasing well-being of your people. And if we stop a second on that before going back to empathy and recognition, what does that mean? It means it's interesting, the layers that you shared, Nicolas. It starts with usually some elements related to benefits, healthcare, how, you cater for that, universally for your employees. And then it goes to other, areas that you also described, Nicolas, which is, okay, how can I support individuals in the organization so that I help them manage, in particular, the stress when we go through transformation, or even if you don't go through transformation, just help them managing the anxiety and the stress that can be created by the external environment. So both dimensions are very much working with one another, because if you're a caring leader individually, you will be probably more inclined to deliver the collective levers that Nicolas was sharing. So let me just give you one quote because I wanted to deep dive on empathy. This is a very difficult topic. I mean, practicing empathy and empathetic listening, it takes practice. And again, as you mentioned, Nicolas, you have to start somewhere, and it's useful to apply a strategy of baby steps. But just when I'm asked to, what does mean? What is empathy? I like this quote from Brené Brown, which she says, empathy has no script. There is no right way or wrong way to do it. It's simply listening, holding space, withholding judgments, emotionally connecting, and communicating that incredibly healing message of you are not alone. And I find this quote very powerful to describe what is empathic. Finally, on empathy, because again, this is such an important topic when you want to be a caring leader. There are many others, but this one in particular is very important. And I would really invite all of you in the masterclass to practice it. If you already do it perfect, continue to do it even more. And if that's something you're struggling with, I just want to clarify that empathetic listening does not mean that you have to agree or you need to change your mind, that you should try to fix the problem that the person is, maybe sharing. And so no solving mode, no solving problem mode, sorry. And listening, as a means to respond with your own comments. That's the piece where you don't need you really need to listen. Don't bring your own agenda in the conversation. And that's something, difficult to do, particularly when we are in ourselves as leaders, when we are in a state where we have some mental charge. Empathy is difficult because we tend to bring our own agenda. We tend to do all those things that we encourage you not to do if you want to practice empathy. So I just wanted to give a couple of examples of what does it mean. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny. And this is a nice transition for me to come back to Moka.care. You're talking about empathetic listening, emotional connection. I mean, at the beginning of the conversation, Pierre-Etienne, you talk about some of the changes and notably the one of the connection between people. The fact that now we have more written communication, so with less empathy. I mean, and less listening and less probably emotion, even if some of us can convey some emotions through the writing. so I wanted to come back on the roots probably of Moka.care and how you came to this idea. You were working at BCG, so in a larger corporation. What drove you to switch and develop Moka.care? And how would you define, that's my second question to you, how would you define a caring leader?
First, concerning the origin of Moka.care and the way I wanted to create this company, it was rather evident for me. Luckily or not luckily, I had a father that was mentally sick for a bit more than 12 years and that died from it. No gravity at all now. It has been a long time ago. But when I was a kid, it was something very normal for me. And very, I would say, part of my daily life. And so mental health, for me as a man of back in time, 20 years old, was something normal. It was not the case for older people. And particularly when I was working for external organization at BCG, when I spoke about, for instance, seeing a psychologist, back in time, people were like, wow, that's weird. You're seeing a psychologist, but you're 20. What's your problem? On my side, I was doing sport at a rather high level. And for me, it was something very normal, very linked to performance also, but being to just living the life like a normal life, but rather happy life, I would say. So this was the main point that drove me into creating Moka. And to answer to the second part of your question, like what was according to me, a caring leader, I will give you an anecdote. When my father died, it was my first month of BCG. And back in time, I received an email from a guy called Mathieu Ménégo, who is at BCG still today. And he sent me a mail. Maybe I have it in my mailbox, but he sent me something like, Pierre-Etienne, we don't know each other yet, but I know you joined BCG 1 month ago. I just learned what happened to you. And I just want to say, don't care about work. I know you're in tribe period, but don't care about anything. Like just care about your family, about yourself. Take all the time you want for us, for yourself. And please feel free to tell us anything you would need so that this could be easier for you. And so back in time, I don't had a definition of what is a caring leader, but this would be a part of what I would call a caring leader, which is saying, okay, I know you're working for my company. I know as you're working for my company, I'm paying you a salary, and in exchange of this salary, you should work for the company and add value to the company. But I also know that you are a person, and as a person, you have your personal environment and not only my company. And when considering this personal environment, everything changed. Like my definition of a caring leader is somebody who is able to understand that the relationship to work is not only a transactional relationship, meaning I give you a salary and you give me your resources or your value, but it's a relationship of trust between people. And I took time, to be honest, to make a definition about caring leader. And I find the research of Fanny and the team about this much more powerful than my own research. But if I would have to put a definition on the caring leader, it's exactly this, like transforming the relationship you have to work into a relationship of trust between people, and not only a transactional relationship between a salary and a resource. And so this has a lot of consequences behind. The first one, when you have a relationship of trust, for me, there is something that is very important, is to be able to give and receive constructive feedback. This could sound a bit bullshit because we hear a lot about feedback everywhere. At BCG, we like 5 years ago when I was there, we had a sentence that was feedback is a gift. For some of the people, it was a bit bullshit. For me, it resonates a lot because now as a caring leader, when you give feedback, you really want people to be well and to develop themselves. Like it's really what you're looking for. And so to give you a few tips, first, try to make the difference between what is an error and what is a fault. In your feedback, like sometimes we have the impression that everything is a fault, like it's not according to the rule, etc. No, that's not true. A mistake, you have to correct, like to help people, developing themselves. A fault, you have to correct behavior. It's totally different. So this concerning feedback is very important. Second thing concerning feedback that could be very important in the definition of caring leader is to what extent do you give very concrete example to the people in order for them to be really aware of the situation and how can they improve? Most of the time when we had feedback, it could be about feelings. For instance, when you say to a manager, I have the impression that blah, blah, blah. This is weird because if the people answer you, no, I have another impression, you're like blocked. You don't know how to do. Whether if you say like, and it's a technique of active listening also, but when you say, okay, in this situation, this came to that, and that was the feeling that came out to the situation. And what do you think about it? And so this is a much more productive feedback. So first, like bucket of the caring leader is about feedback. Second is about concerning, I would say, the person as a whole, and not only, and it's what I was saying, but not only as a professional and a resource in my organization. For instance, and it's what we work a lot about mental health, like we all have personal issues. Like everybody in this room has personal issues, whether with, husband or wife, whether with children, whether with parents, whether with your own self. Like we all have questions, and that's normal. And if as a manager, you don't take it into account, like you're wrong in the way that you don't see the person as a whole. And so a very small tips to do this is when you ask, for instance, in France, ça va? I don't know if you have, for those of you who are living in France, like people always saying, salut, ça va? But they don't really like listening if you're like, well, in the 5 first minutes of all my one-on-one meetings, I spend times just checking in with the people. Like, how do you really feel? And if you have a problem, please tell me if you're okay. If you're not okay, no problem. But just like, and I do the same. I had a tough night because my girl didn't sleep. No, it's not against you. But if I'm a bit annoyed in this meeting, don't take it personally. And this is the second point of a caring leader, is just to say, how are you emotionally standing right now? And this is very important in a like linked to performance and to productivity. Because as I was saying before, when you're in a written communication, you interpret stuff. And if I tell you, like, for instance, I'm annoyed in a meeting, but I don't tell you at the beginning that I'm not annoyed against you, but I'm just like tired, or I'm just emotionally a bit fucked up. You will interpret it like, okay, Pierre-Etienne is saying a tough thing. I don't understand why. Maybe I've done wrong. And then you are doing what I called meta working. It's like you're working, but thinking about your work, whether working. So this is for me a caring leader. We have at Moka what we call excellence in care at the top of our culture, which is to what extent everything that you do in the company could be caring and linked to excellence and to performance. And I think that both dimensions are very linked, and it's what your study shows in terms of recognition and everything that concerns the impact on the company.
Thank you, Pierre-Etienne. I like your example and anecdote on the French ça va. I would recommend each of you, because usually when you ask ça va, the response is ça va. And if you just ask back again, really, then you would be surprised about what happens after that. Because people can just realize that it was just kind of a reactive statement, but not truly what they had in mind. I'm turning now to Nicolas. You are in HR, so basically people are kind of your thing, right? For so many years now. So I wanted to ask you why actually led you to become an HR practitioner and a leader in HR, and what are your convictions about care?
Thank you.
Thank you for this question. Maybe just as a context, over the past 20 years or so, we know that the leadership style have changed a lot. And I would like to summarize them quite simply in two criteria. First, from a top-down approach to an horizontal decision-making method. And two, from a model where you had to look like your boss to succeed, including women who had those masculine codes, to a boss who has to adapt his or her style, to each person of his team to growth, get buy-in, and engage a collective. From a management style where emotion doesn't exist, to one where feelings are open to all. Very, very early on, I wanted to be an HR. It was really a strong conviction to be a coach, a conductor, a judge, to do my best to bring about fair and equitable decisions. And if today I wish to embody this wonderful role, it's about to make the link to accompany teams individually and collectively towards a better well-being, enabling high sustainable performance. And it's a strong conviction to be a trusted HR leader. Thank you.
Thank you all.